Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Camilla furious as Catherine unleashes. Diana's lover's knot, Tiara. Buckingham Palace rocked the tiara's tail. How one family heirloom showed the weak spots in the modern monarchy. In the golden hallways of Buckingham Palace, where every move is measured and every diamond has a tale to tell, a silent drama played out that has shaken the very basis of the House of Windsor. The carefully planned setting for an important state dinner changed forever as soon as Catherine, the Princess of Wales, walked into the room. People were drawn to her not only because she was beautiful, but also because of the lover's knot tiara she wore. This item was so closely tied to Princess Diana's memories that it seemed more like a resurrection than an ornament. People say that Queen Camilla's eyes rested on the tiara across the big hall, and in that moment her carefully crafted facade of royal calm appeared to break. People watching felt a lot of history in the air at that moment, a clash of the past and the present of anguish and power. Sources say that for Camilla the sight was a deep and personal humiliation, a vivid reminder of a legacy she could never claim, and a public love she has never truly achieved. She thought that the tiara, which was Diana's most prized piece of jewelry, was never intended for Catherine. The issue of who gave authorization for its usage was in the air a tacit accusation. This wasn't a fashion decision, it was a strategic move that started a silent battle within the royal gates. This one incident has shown that the royal family isn't as united as it seems. It has also shown how delicate the balance of power is and how Princess Diana's influence still lingers almost like a ghost. Now we will tell the complicated narrative of the tiara, the careful choices that led to it being put on Catherine's head, and what this symbolic gesture means for the future of the British monarchy. A golden stage. A ghostly presence. The evening was meant to go according to the old royal script. A state dinner was being held at Buckingham Palace, which was available to the public. The event was a spectacular occasion with heads of state and dignitaries from all over the world. The setting was amazing in every way. The heavy cutlery on the long tables shone, the crystal glasses glittered, and the big chandeliers shed a warm golden light on the high, elaborate ceilings. The staterooms had a regal majesty that came from centuries of history and authority. Members of the royal family stood still and ready to receive their important visitors. They wore their best clothes and stood as live examples of the history of their country. But an unexpected but strong change in emphasis threw off the meticulously planned events. As soon as Princess Catherine walked in, the mood in the hall changed. The dress she wore was beautiful, a work of art in haute couture. But the diadem on her head changed the mood in the room. The lover's knot tiara sat wonderfully in her hair. The pattern, which included a waterfall of brilliant cut diamonds and 19 dangling pearls in a sequence of heart-shaped knots, was easy to see. The tiara was a well-known sight preserved in many old photos and newsreels. But this night, when Catherine wore it, it felt different. Everyone had to stop and look at her, because of the way she carried herself and the calm confidence she had as she walked across the room. There was no doubt that this was Princess Diana's tiara. It was one of her favorite and most worn garments, a sign of her time as the Princess of Wales. Seeing it again now on Catherine's head didn't just add a touch of vintage elegance to the evening, it carried the entire unvarnished weight of the past into the present. For many who remember Diana as the queen of people's hearts, the sight brought up deep, almost physical feelings. For a few seconds, it seemed like everyone in the room held their breath. Some attendees smiled politely and knowingly to try to keep the atmosphere light and festive. Some people looked at one another in a way that was both subtle and inquiring. Their eyes spoke what their lips couldn't. The tiara had already sent its strong, quiet message. Diana's presence and legacy had not been forgotten. The murmur of chatter started up again. It was real, and it was here. Queen Camilla came in not long after that. Her own beautiful tiara sat perfectly on her hair, making her seem every inch the royal consort. Her dress was beautiful, and she smiled with confidence. But that optimism didn't last long. As she walked farther into the hall, sharp-eyed people saw a little but clear difference in the way she acted. It was nearly impossible to tell, but her speed slowed down. Her grin stayed on her face, but it appeared to lose its warmth and intensity. People close to her may see a flash of something more in her eyes, a quick, unguarded look into a complicated emotional maelstrom. It was obvious that she had seen Catherine. She had looked at the lover's knot tiara. She tried to get well quickly by focusing on other things, but the harm was already done. That one unexpected sight had pushed her off balance, even if only a little. She kept going, meeting visitors and doing her tasks, but royal aides saw that she was becoming tired. The weight of the past had come into the room, borne by the shine of diamonds and pearls. The tiara used to belong to the lady who had a huge impact on how the royal family is seen now. In this story, Camilla has always been the bad guy. The tiara was more than simply a piece of jewelry for the queen consort. It was a way to remember things she had probably been trying to forget for years. A single significant piece of jewelry brought back all the years of public scrutiny, the painful comparisons, and the shadow of a cherished competitor. The state banquet went off without a hitch. There were speeches, toasts, and polite conversation amongst diplomats. But something big had changed behind the scenes. The air seemed thicker, and there was a sense of tension in the air. People who had been following the royal family for a long time and knew how to read the subtle social signals of the monarchy saw the signs, the way certain looks lingered a little too long, and the forced character of the small conversation between important family members. The lover's knot tiara added more than simply shine to the event. It had given life purpose. Every aspect of Buckingham Palace's theater is carefully planned. A clothing says something. A brooch tells a story. Jewelry has its own language. Some pieces celebrate beauty, some show strength, and a few have a profound, often sad past. One of those rare artifacts that performed all three was the lover's knot tiara. Catherine had put it on, perhaps knowing just what it meant. She wasn't only paying tribute to her late mother-in-law by doing this. She was well aware that she was entering an area full with responsibilities, memories, and strong emotions. There was no way to ignore it, and there was no way to ignore it. It was a really hard time for Camilla. The tiara was a powerful reminder that there were parts of Diana's history that she would never be able to touch, no matter how safe her position as queen consort seemed on paper. It brought back the time when Diana had an unbreakable hold on the hearts of the people, and it showed via Catherine that this strong bond still exists. The diamonds sparkled in the light, but what really lit up the room was the narrative they told of devotion, love, betrayal, and remembering. The tiara seemed like a shadow that she could never totally escape from, since she had fought so hard for years to improve her image and develop her own platform. Catherine wore it with style and a clear purpose. It wasn't simply something to wear for the night. It was a message that was conveyed across time and encased in royal jewels. And everyone in the room, particularly Queen Camilla, heard it loud and clear. The message behind the jewels. A legacy lives on the lover's knot tiara is a stunning piece of royal art that shines under the palace lights, thanks to its diamonds and pearls. It stands for royal strength and elegance that lasts forever. But for Queen Camilla, her tiara is a hefty and agonizing weight. It reminds her of everything she couldn't have, everything she saw from the outside, and every door that was still firmly locked to her no matter how high she had climbed. The item has Princess Diana's name on it. She wore it for some of her most important public events when she was a worldwide star, but was also going through a lot of personal hardship. The tiara was more than just a crown. It was a part of her story, a piece of armor that contained the memories of her bravery, deep sadness, and unbreakable pride as she confronted a world that was watching her every move. Even after many years, the lover's knot still had a strong meaning. When Catherine, the new Princess of Wales, wore it to a big state event, it did more than shine. It brought back memories of Diana in a way that was almost too clear. It felt if the past had come into the room without being asked yet, it was hard to ignore. The tiara brought to mind Diana as the people's princess for millions of people. She was a cherished and revered person whose popularity has not waned over time. People within the castle thought about the tiara's look on a deeper level. It wasn't simply a beautiful piece of jewelry. It was a sign of Diana's great power. That tiara had given her a sort of emotional protection. It made her seem like a queen who couldn't be broken even while she was in pain. For Camilla, seeing Catherine wear it must have seemed like a clear and bitter message: certain legacies never die. No matter how long it's been, Camilla's role in the royal drama is still muddled by years of public opinion and whispered criticism. She has never totally escaped the shadow of her past, even after becoming queen consort. A lot of people have had a hard time accepting her, and they keep comparing her to the lady who came before her. People probably thought that seeing Catherine, who was so easily liked and adored, wearing something that was so closely linked to Diana, was a message delivered straight to her without saying a word. It showed that Diana's death had not broken the strong emotional relationship she had with the people. It had moved to another place. There is no need for words to back up that type of statement. It hovers in the air, a fact that won't go away. When Queen Elizabeth II died, this dynamic began. Royal history and convention required the careful separation of her huge collection of private jewelry. Camilla, as the future queen consort, got to choose first. This choice was based on rank and rule, not feelings. Because of its historical importance and stunning beauty, it was virtually a guarantee that she would choose the lover's knot tiara for herself. But she didn't. Even those who have worked with the royal family for a long time were shocked when the tiara was given to Catherine. They had made up their minds, and that was it. That one decision changed the monarchy's inner workings more than most people knew at the time. People who follow the royal family say that Queen Elizabeth II had a lot of real regard for Catherine. Their friendship became stronger over time, and the late queen may have identified in Catherine a lady who could carry on Diana's spirit while making her own way. This kind of thinking probably had a big impact on what happened to the tiara in the end. Catherine had more than diamonds on her head when she wore it. She had a memory, a link, and a narrative that still touches millions of others. People didn't only see a future queen, they felt Diana's presence again. No title or status can give you that sensation. You can't earn it by doing your job or being close to the crown. People can tell right away that it is a natural, emotional connection. Of course, Camilla still wears beautiful royal jewelry. She wears precious artifacts to important state occasions, which makes her seem elegant and confident. But the emotional power that Catherine has, particularly when she wears something like the lover's knot, goes far deeper than just how she looks. People still feel moved by the narrative behind the tiara. It talks without a voice, telling everyone that Diana's memory is still strong. It lives on in more than just history books. It lives on in the decisions we make and the things we pass down from one generation to the next. It was more than just a royal meal that night at the palace. It turned into a night when the past and present crashed into each other with amazing power. The tiara probably brought up feelings that Camilla had repressed for years. It reaffirmed what she undoubtedly already knew but didn't want to face so publicly, that certain roles and the affection that comes with them would never be hers, no matter what her title or position was. Catherine now has the tiara, and strict royal rules say she will keep it for good. When someone else wears something this big, it becomes part of their narrative. Diana's tiara is still on its way, not only as a royal treasure but also as a powerful symbol of love-suffering legacy and the unmistakable power of being the chosen one. The counter-move and the public's opinion. The palace's internal dynamics changed quietly but powerfully, and people noticed. Queen Camilla may have been shocked at first, but she is a survivor who has been through decades of royal intrigue and public relations struggles. She didn't move out of the way. She put on a planned and calculated show of her own at the next big state event. The Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, which has a lot of historical and royal meaning, was on her head when she got there. She was dressed perfectly and full of new confidence. This wasn't a random pick. Queen Elizabeth II was known to love the tiara. It was a wedding present to her, and she wore it throughout her reign. It is even on certain British money. Camilla was conveying her own statement by picking this item. She was putting herself in line with the heritage of the revered late king, making herself the personification of tradition, power, and stability. She smiled and stood up straight for the pictures. It was a blatant effort to show her power and remind everyone that she was at the king's side. However, the desired impact did not happen. Even though the tiara she wore had beautiful jewels and a long history, people and the media didn't pay attention to her for long. It slowly floated back to Catherine. People were still fascinated by the lady who had slipped into Diana's shadow and was gently, elegantly making it her own, even as Camilla made a strong statement about her position in the institution. The ovation, the plaudits, and the cameras of the globe all appeared to be drawn to Catherine, who had taken on her important job with an appearance of ease. There weren't any big speeches or public efforts to make this change happen. It occurred via the strong language of symbols, which frequently say more than words in the realm of monarchy. Camilla donned one of the royal vault's most valuable and historically important tiaras, but it didn't have the same effect on people. People weren't talking about where it came from or the queens who had worn it before. Instead, many were still talking about Catherine in Diana's tiara, breaking down what it meant and how sad it was to see it sparkle again. It seems that people were less concerned in how many carats the gems had or how much they were worth. The emotional story hit home the most. In that quiet fight of symbols, the tiara that Catherine wore had a tale that touched people deeply. Camilla's tiara, no matter how old it was, couldn't match that level of passion. Things became even more tense since it felt like everything just fell into place for Catherine. It didn't seem like she was trying to force her way into the limelight or push her point of view. She just played her part, and the signs of popular love followed her. This ease made the moment even more powerful. As the world paid more and more attention to her, it became hard to overlook how important this change in dynasty was. It wasn't the gems themselves that mattered in the end, but what they stood for. It wasn't simply a fight for the spotlight. It was a fight for the hearts of the people. Camilla wanted to move forward and make her position stronger, but someone else was already in that emotional place. Catherine didn't have to explain herself or argue for it. She just donned Diana's lover's knot tiara, and everything changed around her. That one deed touched something deep in the minds of the people. The response was quick and passionate. It spread quickly on social media, in quiet chats at home, and in the press. People didn't simply like Catherine. They felt a connection to her. Camilla, on the other hand, stood close, looking beautiful in her own royal clothes, but the public's attention was elsewhere. She appeared to be strolling in a different, more distant road, even though she had been doing her job for decades and had the title. There was a clear difference between the respect she got and the love others were ready to offer. Catherine didn't have to be better than anybody else. She won over the hearts of the people by just showing up wearing Diana's tiara. There was a clear and obvious difference. Catherine had the people's love, but Camilla had the power of the institution. In a contemporary monarchy where how the public sees things is the most important element for survival, this distinction is huge. The unbreakable rules for royal heirlooms. To really comprehend how important this ceremony is, you need to know about the strict unwritten rules that govern royal jewels, especially tiaras. These aren't just extras that you can pick from at random. Each piece is full of responsibility, place, and tradition. The king or queen personally gives them out, and once a tiara of this status is given out, the choice is final. It doesn't go back to the vault or be handed around amongst family members for various events. Catherine got the lover's knot tiara, and it was hers alone. Camilla could never wear that, not even once. There is no way to break this rule. These aren't simply pieces of jewelry, they're royal symbols that can only be used in certain ways. A tiara shows that you are an official member of the family. It tells others who you are, what you stand for, and where you fit in the line of succession and power. There are also tight guidelines concerning when and where they may be worn. Tiaras are only used for the most formal evening occasions, such state banquets, coronations, and royal weddings. They are not usually worn before 5:00 p.m. It wasn't just a coincidence that Catherine wore Diana's tiara. It was a planned presentation that followed the rules and had both conventional and emotional meaning. Every single moment is a message, but the first one is usually the most impactful. Diana had her first tiara moment on the day she got married. Catherine and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, both did the same thing. These weren't random dress decisions. They were a sign that they had officially joined the highest level of royal life. A woman doesn't merely marry into the family, she becomes a part of its history, and that first tiara locks her into the royal chronology. Camilla's route was different. She didn't have that big famous entrance. Much of her story had already been told by the time she donned her first tiara as a member of the royal family. And the one thing she could have wanted the most, the tiara that was so closely linked to her adversary and predecessor, was already off the table. That door was closed for good after it was given to Catherine. Camilla couldn't ask to borrow it, wear it for a night, or even take a picture with it. She didn't write that chapter. Camilla is now the queen, but there are symbolic areas in the royal society that institutional authority can't reach. The lover's knot tiara isn't about the diamonds. It's about Diana's life. And now that narrative is Catherine's to tell. You can't change or move the weight of its message. Even when Camilla tried to show off her own presence with the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, she ended up drawing more attention to Catherine. The analogy hurt her. Catherine looked like the future, while Camilla looked like the past, trying to hold on to its position. People didn't support Camilla in the same manner. Their love for her didn't grow as quickly as it did for Catherine. Even though Camilla has been through a lot and done her duty, she still can't quite reach the deep, sincere connection that Catherine generates. The tiara communicated the narrative better than words ever could in the end. People already loved Catherine when she wore the lover's knot, which brought back memories of Diana. That event didn't only bring back the past, it gave it a future. and Camilla stood by, looking like a queen watching a new chapter develop. Not because she didn't have titles or didn't try hard enough, but because the symbols and the emotions of the people had already decided where to land. A history of tension. The beginning of a rivalry. This latest Tiara incident didn't happen in a vacuum. To appreciate how deep the response was, you need to go back to the complicated history between Camilla and Catherine, which was said to be tense from the start. People saw a little amount of friction right away when Prince William initially welcomed Kate Middleton into the royal family. People remarked that things were quite different behind closed doors, even if nothing was ever spoken in public. Camilla, who had worked long and hard to be accepted, watched as Catherine strode into a world that she had fought for decades to get into. Kate Middleton grew up in a middle-class family. Her family didn't have any aristocratic ancestors or strong ties to the upper class. Camilla is said to have been worried about this. She had been publicly shamed for years and had fought hard to gain a little respect. She understood how hard it was to win over the people, and the elite one painful step at a time. Then Kate came along, and it seemed like everything was easy for her. The people loved her right away and without any conditions. People loved how graceful, calm, and natural she seemed. Insiders say that Camilla witnessed everything happen and couldn't escape the idea that it was unjust at its core. Catherine didn't appear to have to work as hard as she did to change how others saw her. Reports say that the younger woman's rapid and overwhelming public love made Camilla feel left out. Even though she had been a member of the royal family for a long time, she still felt like an outsider when she was next to the beautiful and well-liked Catherine. The lover's knot tiara brought all of these hidden sentiments to the surface. It brought up old scars, brought up feelings that had been buried for a long time, and served as a sharp public reminder of the contrasting paths the two ladies had taken. In the harsh world of the monarchy, some crowns are heavier than they appear, and others, like the ones given to you by the people, don't even fit on your head. They live on in the hearts of the people, and that is a throne that no one can take. It has to be won. That night everyone knew who was wearing the crown that couldn't be seen. In the end, the tiara was only a tangible representation of it. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.